Hello and welcome to What Moves Us Express,
Or alternatively, what doesn't move us?
a daily podcast throughout this disrupted season
Brought to you from sunny Brighton and
at Nine Elms in London.
Hey Liam.
Hi Johannah, how are you today?
So, well, I think I've been fed up all week, but at least it's Friday now,
Right.
and I went out for the first time today as well. And can you believe it? It was raining.
It is raining here in London quite heavily, and I'm watching my seats outside getting wet, and I should bring them in. Oh well.
But it's going to be nice at the weekend. But anyway, who have we got with us today?
Oh, it's. I'm guessing we're recording now. Then, so it's,
We are
Yeah.
recording. We are.
yeah. Apologies for that. It's Daniel Kong, so head of business development at Opinsta.
And what is Opinsta? I mean, I know what Opinsta is, but tell our audience what Opinsta is.
So we're a mobile application development company. We do a mix of custom developments primarily for the rail sector. Kind of on a secondary level, the aviation sector, primarily transport as a whole. And we also have off-the-shelf solutions that we provide as well that are, in areas like maintenance, communications, employee engagement, and those types of areas for frontline employees.
And whereabouts are you based?
We're based in the UK, based in the Midlands in Birmingham.
And is that where you are today?
Yeah, based in Birmingham. Not as sunny today, but it has been throughout the week.
Right. I think we last actually met in Glasgow just before these restrictions came in.
Yeah. That was the Accelerate event, I believe.
Yeah, the rail north of the border one.
Yeah.
That seems such a long time ago, doesn't it?
I know. Back when we could travel on the trains. We had need for apps.
Wow. Yeah.
So, I mean, obviously, a deeply frustrating time. How are things going?
For us, not so bad. If in fact, it probably a hump week this week, but for us, it's been relatively business as usual. I think kind of the culture and the setup and the way we worked, the disruption didn't hit us too hard, which was thankful. And we know that's not necessarily the case for other individuals and other companies. So we are thankful for that and trying to do our part where we can to help. I think as a team, we're staying very well connected. Is kind of part of how we were set up before. We did a lot of remote working. A lot of that development can naturally happen off-site and remotely. I think for the sanity side of things, keeping the communications up and probably for me personally on a note, probably comfortable at home, too much so, keeping the exercise going here and there. But not too bad at all actually.
So is your development done on nearshore or abroad?
It's done. So it's all done in house. We've got a mixture of developers in the UK and Romania. So there's a natural connection that we've got with some of our developers in house that are based in the Birmingham office. So our CTO, our head of front end development, and a couple of others. They're Romanian by ethnicity as well. So we've set ourselves up with two bases. Richly, there's a couple of developers in New Zealand as well, but the two development bases, Birmingham, Romania, but with all of the team being able to speak fluent English and fluent Romanian. It's quite a good setup that we've got in that sense.
Can you speak Romanian?
Not me, no. So
Oh,
that is a nice fine line
I'm so disappointed. I wanted you to say something in Romanian to us.
No. I would be brave and try and.
Can you say good afternoon?
No, not me. They tend to just turn away and mutter things when it's Romanian and leave me out. So.
Oh.
So have you adapted, with having teams based all over the place, essentially? Have you adapted quite well to this new way of working?
Yeah, I think for our internal setup, it has actually impacted quite minimally, which is obviously great for us. I think that the real disruption for us really has only come through clients, where we're obviously very empathetic that specifically in the transport sector, we're talking about large enterprise companies used to thousands, hundreds of thousands of customers kind of moving in transit, operating across stretches of the UK. They've been hit a lot harder, and I suppose the knock-on effect to us is projects have been put on hold, contract renegotiations have been stalled, and I think that has had a financial implication on us. Nothing to be devastated about, but it took a restructure and a rethink about how we manage these next 6 to 12 months.
Yeah.
But we know that really there are companies and individuals out there that have been hit harder than us. So for us, it's kind of keep business as usual, keep going. We did have a set of resources allocated to some custom projects that we were set to start, and we've just looked to repurpose those to strengthen the existing products we've got and engage in some of the kind of government initiatives that are going out at the moment to innovate and create quick fix apps that will help people through this period.
So what are you doing then to specifically to repivot your business? Because I mean, you mentioned that you're doing some stuff with the current Innovate UK call. So what sorts of things are you looking at?
So a couple of these projects, well, all of these projects, minus one, are outside of me. So we're engaging in the first of a kind project, and that's something that started pre-COVID, but it's still kept its feet. Network Rail have got a competition at the moment, station contest. That's something I'm actively doing a lot of the work for there. That's been put back by a month, but not considerably. So there's still space to engage there. There are little initiatives and competitions out there that are put out by the government, DFT. There's some work in the aviation industry as well that KTN are running. So there's a lot of competitions and initiatives to engage with. So we've used some of that spare capacity to engage in more of those where we may have only been more selective. And what we've done with the resources to try and think of, in the most pragmatic way, what can we do with a group of developers that were set to start other projects? We've put those towards our 3 main off-the-shelf solutions, so to better improve and speed up the roadmap for our maintenance app, our lost property application, and our staff briefing communication. And we might come on to this in a bit later on. I suppose it's up to yourselves, but we've used we're trying to find the best way to position this. And I think this is the difficulty that probably sits with me as the business development side of the company. But we do now have the capacity to essentially help customers quicker and faster and more cost effectively than we did before. And that could look like free trials, it could look like free setups, it could be licensing for these applications 3-6 months for no cost potentially. But I think one difficulty with that we've come across is there's a fine line, and it could be overthinking to look at companies that you think you might be able to help, but to not truly understand the disruption they're facing, the conditions they're in at the moment. And we wouldn't want to look like we were using the pandemic to profiteer. So we could do that. We could set people up for free. We could help them, but I guess that's a difficult one to get the balance for.
On that, have you found it easy to understand or to learn about the challenges that potential clients are having?
So the answer is yes and no. Yes, for the clients that we already have, or the relationships that we already had with prospective clients before the pandemic. So for those people that we had good relationships with already, that's very simple. And some of those we are setting up on free trials. Some of those we're adding some development that we may have previously had to charge for, and we are doing some extra work above and beyond in those areas where we can. But those were conversations that we had already had, so people we already knew quite well. To go on the other side, where it's perhaps organisations that we haven't worked with before, or we had less relationship or time to build relationships with before, probably not. I think it's been quite difficult to really, if they are in a tight position, they're going to be quite reluctant or find it difficult to engage with new projects. It might feel like more on their plate, even if the aim ultimately is hopefully to reduce that or to make things simpler. I think it it is difficult for some people to take more on. So that has been a challenge.
Yeah. Do you get the feeling that people are still very much in panic, got to save my business mode, rather than trying to think about, going more into survival and how do I keep my business relevant and go on to the next thing, because there will be a future.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that's probably two boats that just the majority of people are trying to put people into. So it's are these people kind of batting down the hatchet, waiting for it to be over, or are they thinking about what it looks like and how do they get ahead? So I think that the types of people that we would typically help at Opinsta, it is usually the frontline employee. So it's either applications that support them on their day-to-day, or it's to create an application that will directly benefit their customers. So it's customer-facing solutions. And in both those cases, you typically speak and engage with people that are on the front line. So they might not necessarily be the CEO or the business owner, who might be more wary of the financials, the longevity of the company, and they might be more prone to either being in one of those two boats. So either, look, let's just wait this out, or let's think ahead. I think the people we speak to are it's probably more of an emotive story there. It's, some of these people have had large members of the staff gone to furlough, so they might not be completely sure what their job role entails. They may have just now moved into a setup where they only have access to a certain percentage of their tools, when they used to have everything they needed in the office. So I think for the people we speak to, it's probably difficult to put them into one or two. I think there's an uncertainty about what their role is, which is, it makes it more difficult for them to then understand if these are changes or conversations that they can start when I guess there's many questions that they're still facing.
Yeah, that is difficult. I mean, I hadn't sort of like appreciated not just the fact how difficult it is to business plan, but also the fact that staff, a lot of, right way through organisations, that they've been furloughed, so you haven't even got the ability to, because people are running on skeleton organisations. I hadn't appreciated that. Did you have something you were going to say, Liam? Another question?
It was just moving to the positives that you see coming out of it.
There we go. I always like to move on to positives. I think there is going to be a lot. Maybe it's like innately being an optimist, but I think there is, and that's me not only basing it on a kind of business culture, maybe just time to listen to the news, to speak with friends, family, and I think there's a lot of people now cooped up, a bit frustrated, maybe a bit tired, and they're desperate to get out. But that in itself can hopefully, and I hope and I see that it can harness itself in a good way. I think there's going to be a lot of energy. I think there's going to be a lot of hunger. I think this, from a tech side and a Opinsta view, is there are people that now are hamstrung. They've been put in this situation very quickly and weren't ready. I think there's going to be a thirst to innovate. I think there's going to be a want to not be in these situations again. Particularly from from a global point of view, and I think that energy, that hunger, that kind of togetherness, I think it's going to show itself in a lot of good ways when we get through this.
Yeah, they do say the greatest innovations happen when out of adversity, when you have to, don't they?
Yeah.
That's great. Thank you ever so much for your time this afternoon, Dan.
Thanks, Dan.
Thanks both.
Bye.
Bye.